Right, as Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville continues his stand to protect life and the rule of law by objecting to the Pentagon's illegal abortion travel funding policy, he's simply putting a hold on military promotions, meaning he's not blocking them, all right? So this is very, very clear. He's just making them vote, that's all. And they voted on some, but it takes up time, which they don't like to do. They would rather spend your money. Well, Democrats are continuing to ratchet up the pressure on Senator Tuberville. They want him to fold. The Biden administration claims that Senator Tuberville's holds on military appointees is a detriment to military readiness. Let me tell you what's a detriment to military readiness. The Biden administration policies. Well, yesterday, 27 Republican senators responded with a letter to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, noting that he, the secretary, is the one that broke a promise to the American people by politicizing the military and demanding that he rescind the abortion travel policy. Join me now to discuss this is North Carolina Senator Ted Budd, who led this effort. He serves on 4 Senate committees, including the Senate Armed Services Committee. Senator Budd, welcome back to Washington Watch.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So your letter to Secretary Austin gets straight to the point. He's the one that's broken his promise to the American people not to politicize the military, and his actions have harmed and threatened the institution and the norms within our democracy. So it's not Senator Tuberville that has to retreat. It should be the Pentagon that goes back to the policies that were in place before.
Well, we got to change the narrative back to the truth. And then again, exactly, it's not Senator Tuberville is the problem here. The letter simply says, one, you promised not to politicize the military, and you did. And the other is that the simplest way to fix this is to change the policy. I've told him in person in multiple hearings, I said, the way to fix this is with the stroke of a pen. You could fix this by this evening, the evening of the hearing, and he chose not to. You know, he was a well-decorated warrior at one point who served our nation, and now he's become completely politicized by the Biden administration. It's very, very disappointing. And the narrative needs to be the truth, and that this is not about Tuberville. He's simply standing up for a good policy. And then, Tony, when we asked the DOD, how many women do you think this would affect or in their worldview? And they said this would probably serve 4,000 women. And then we asked for, first of all, they didn't know. Then they said 4,000. And when the data actually came out, it was 12. They have done all this, holding up our military for over 200, close to 300 days for 12 incidences, which is probably even illegal.
Now, some would say, well, it's just 12, then why are they objecting to this? But I want to bring it back to the issue of the law. The law says, and this is something that has been in place for a long time, this idea, it's been bipartisan, that taxpayers wouldn't be forced to participate in funding or facilitating abortions. And that's what you and the other senators are simply trying to hold the Pentagon to.
Well, I appreciate my colleagues standing strong on this. And this is, again, about politicizing the military and the woke left agenda. This is not about military strength and readiness and lethality, which we've got so many things going on in the world right now that we need to be ready for. This is a complete distraction. We need these people in place. Schumer hasn't brought them to the floor. The ones that have come to the floor, we forced those votes. So we're all about military readiness. But at the same time, this is about a left agenda.
Let's talk about the effort now. Democrats are working to circumvent this established practice of members being able to place holds. That's one of the few things that those in the minority can use to kind of slow the process down. They're talking about changing the rules. You actually referenced this in your letter, that would create a very toxic environment going forward.
Well, unfortunately, it went through the Rules Committee today. It hasn't gone to the larger floor. Standing Order 444, which it does circumvent this, and it would expire after a while, so it's not permanent, but unfortunately, it does end run this. When the best way is, let's vote on these individuals for military readiness.
What do you think happens to that rule when it goes to the floor?
Well, because we're in the minority, I want to be in the majority, and that's what we're working towards in 2024. But right now, with so many that see this very differently, then I think it would be a short-term but unfortunate change.
So, but that will require what, 10 Republican votes to make that happen?
And unfortunately, I believe that would happen. So pray that it wouldn't, but again, it's looking like it will.
Well, that's an action item for you, folks. We need to be calling your senators and encourage them to stand with Senator Tuberville. So I'm going to give you that number in a moment. Senator, just a couple minutes left with you. Thanks for joining us today. But the Biden administration reports now circulating that they are discussing, or they're talking about, removing sanctions, unfreezing more money that would go to Iran, $10 billion by lifting certain sanctions. What do we know about that?
Well, let's go back to before October 7th of last month, and we see what happened. I mean, they released $6 billion for a possible prisoner exchange, and that led to the worst attack on the Jewish population since the Holocaust. 30-some Americans were killed. Many are held hostage, including North Carolinians, where I'm from. It's absolutely devastating what they've done, and it's been this soft on Iran policy that's allowed this to happen. Now they're thinking about not $6 billion like pre-October 7, but they're thinking about $10 billion. This can only make it worse in a time where we need to be strong, Tony, and it's completely unfathomable that they would want to do this. It's weak, and weakness is provocative on the world stage, and that's exactly what Biden's doing.
I'm almost speechless when you consider that they've not only been behind the attacks fueling Hamas and Hezbollah against our ally Israel, but they've actually attacked their proxies have attacked our military in different parts of the world.
Repeatedly, when you look at the 50-some attacks that have happened in not too many in the last week or two in Syria, when you look at Iraq, and then just very timid responses from the Biden administration, again, that's more of this weakness being provocative. So you've got to have a strong leader on the world stage. We had that under President Trump. We can have it again, but unfortunately, we don't have that with the Biden administration.
And that's being driven by the State Department lifting these sanctions. It's very troubling. Any chance that can be stopped, or is that's just going to happen?
I would express outrage over this, and hopefully people that saw the connection between the $6 billion and the terrorist attack from Hamas on October 7th, if they see that connection, then let's see how bad it could be for the $10 billion. So I hope more people are aware of this and express their outrage to the Biden administration.
Yeah, they may, they use the $6 billion for little Satan, use the $10 billion for big Satan. I mean, we know that they would love to take us out as well. Senator Ted Budd, I want to thank you for joining us. Always great to talk with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tony.
And thanks for leading that letter, too, on behalf of Senator Tuberville.
I thank my colleagues as well. Thanks for bringing that up.